Welcome to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast. In this podcast, I'll be talking about why the Chicago Blackhawks are struggling this season. In this podcast, I'll be talking about the struggles of the Chicago Blackhawks this season and what could be done to fix them. The Chicago Blackhawks are dead last in the Central Division and hold a record of 16-31-6 for 38 points in 53 games with 138 goals for and 183 goals against. The Blackhawks have a 10-14-3 record at home and a 6-13-3 record on the road. The Blackhawks have been dreadful in the last 10 games, going 2-4-4. The Blackhawks came into this season with expectations that they wouldn't make the playoffs, but they would still make drastic improvements from last season. With the Blackhawks completely out of the playoff race, Chicago will be sellers at the trade deadline, and they will be looking to add some pieces to help improve their future. The Chicago Blackhawks have had a rough start to the 2024-25 season, and several factors have contributed to their underperformance. Offensive struggles, a sophomore slump by Connor Bedard, defensive woes, goaltending inconsistencies, lack of depth scoring, and injuries. The Blackhawks have struggled to score, ranking near the bottom of the league in goals per game. Their power play has also been ineffective, further hindering their offensive input. After a strong rookie season, Connor Bedard has experienced a sophomore slump, failing to meet the higher expectations set for him. This has further compounded the team's offensive struggles. The team's defense has been porous, allowing a high number of shots and goals. Their penalty kill has also struggled, putting them at a disadvantage. While Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom have shown flashes of brilliance, they have also been inconsistent, leading to some costly losses. The Blackhawks have relied heavily on their top players to generate offense, but they haven't received enough contribution from their depth players. This has made them predictable and easier to defend against. The team has been hit with several key injuries, forcing them to rely on less experienced players. This has also disrupted their chemistry and affected their overall performance. Overall, the Chicago Blackhawks have struggled in all areas of the game this season, which has contributed to their underperformance. And now a word from our sponsor. Check out my scouting blog at hockeywiz777scouting.com. Listen to my scouting blog podcast on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/hockeywiz777scouting. Offensive struggles stem from a combination of factors including a lack of scoring touch, an ineffective power play, a lack of depth scoring, underperformance from star players, and difficulty generating shots. These issues have collectively hindered their ability to score goals and win games. The Blackhawks consistently rank near the bottom of the league in goals per game. This indicates a fundamental inability to generate consistent offensive pressure and finish scoring chances. A struggling power play further compounds their offensive woes. The man advantage, which should be a prime opportunity to score, has become a liability instead. This suggests issues with puck movement, shot selection, and overall strategy. The Blackhawks rely heavily on their top players to produce offensively. When those players are shut down or go through scoring droughts, the team struggles mightily to find secondary scoring. The lack of depth makes them predictable and easier for opponents to defend. Even the team's star players haven't been performing up to standard. Connor Bedard, despite flashes of brilliance, has experienced a sophomore slump and hasn't consistently produced at an elite level. Other key offensive players have also struggled to find the net. The Blackhawks often struggle to generate a high volume of shots on goal. This could be due to a lack of offensive zone time, poor puck possession, or ineffective offensive strategies. Without a consistent shot volume, scoring chances become even harder to come by. The Blackhawks' defensive woes stem from a combination of factors including a struggling penalty kill, poor defensive zone coverage, a lack of physicality, potential issues with defensive pairings and chemistry, and individual mistakes. These issues collectively make it difficult for them to prevent goals and win games. The Blackhawks consistently allow a large number of shots on goal. This indicates a lack of ability to control the opponent's offensive zone time and limit their scoring chances. It suggests potential issues with defensive zone coverage, puck possession, and transition defense. Their penalty kill has been a major weakness, consistently ranking near the bottom of the league. This points to potential problems with their shorthanded structure, communication, and ability to clear the puck. The Blackhawks often struggle with their defensive zone coverage, leading to breakdowns and high danger scoring chances against. This could be due to a lack of communication, poor positioning, or lack of awareness of opposing players. While they have some physical players in the lineup, the Blackhawks as a whole don't consistently play a physical, hard-nosed defensive game. This can make it easier for opponents to enter the zone and create scoring chances. Frequent changes in defensive pairings or a lack of cohesion can lead to breakdown in communication and coverage. Turnovers in the defensive zone, missed assignments, and poor decision-making have also plagued the Blackhawks defense. The Blackhawks' goaltending inconsistency is a significant issue they need to address if they want to improve their overall performance. Whether it's through better defensive support, addressing mental aspects of the game, or managing their workload more effectively. Finding more consistency in net is crucial for their success. Both Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom have shown that they can excel in stretches. They've had games where they've made incredible saves to keep the team in the game. However, these performances are often followed by stretches where they struggle, allowing soft goals or failing to make key saves. Their inconsistency makes it hard for the team to rely on them game in and game out. A team needs its goalies to be reliable, someone who can consistently give the team a chance to win the game, and the Blackhawks haven't had that this season. When the goaltending is inconsistent, it can affect the whole team's confidence. Players may be hesitant to take offensive risks if they don't trust the goalie to make the save to bail them out of the mistake. It can also lead to a sense of unease on the ice, knowing that a goal against could come at any time. It's hard to pinpoint exactly why these goalies are inconsistent, but it could be due to a number of factors. The Blackhawks defense hasn't exactly been the best, which means the goalies have to face a lot of high danger chances. This makes it harder to look consistent, even for the best goalies. Goaltending is a mental position, and any dip in confidence or focus can lead to inconsistent play. Both Mrazek and Soderblom have had stretches where they've played a lot of games in a row, which could lead to mental fatigue, affecting their overall performance. Check out my hockey blog at hockeywiztalkshockey.blogspot.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at hockeywiz777. The lack of scoring depth is a critical weakness that's holding them back. The Blackhawks' lack of scoring depth means that they lack offensive balance needed to be a successful team. They need to find ways to get more contributions from their lower lines and develop a more diverse offensive attack to become a more dangerous team. The Blackhawks rely too heavily on their top players to generate offense. When those players struggle to score, are injured, or simply having an off night, the team's offensive output dries up significantly. This makes them predictable and easy for opponents to shut down. The bottom lines and depth forwards simply aren't contributing enough offensively. They aren't consistently generating scoring chances or chipping in with goals. This puts immense pressure on top lines to carry the entire offense. When top players are being closely checked or the opponent's defense is focused on them, the players lack players who can step up and provide secondary scoring. This means they struggle to score ugly goals or get production from unexpected sources. The Blackhawks offense can be somewhat one-dimensional, and they can't rely on rolling four lines and getting scoring from different sources, which limits their tactical approach, making them easier to defend against. Opponents can focus their best defensive pairings on the Blackhawks top line, knowing that if they shut down those players, they've significantly hampered Chicago's offense. This makes it very difficult for the Blackhawks to generate scoring chances. The issue also points to potential problems with player development and roster construction. While every team has to deal with injuries, the Blackhawks have been particularly challenged with injuries this season, and it has undoubtedly been a factor in their struggles. The Blackhawks have lost important players to injury, forcing them to play without key contributors in key positions. This disrupts the team's chemistry, line combinations, and overall strategy. Injuries can force teams to rely on depth players, and this season, Chicago's depth players have not stepped up. With players like Seth Jones, Alec Martinez, and Connor Murphy missing significant time due to injuries at different points of the season, the Blackhawks were forced to rely on younger defensemen that weren't NHL ready in the lineup. Frequent changes in the lineup can disrupt team chemistry and cohesion. Players may not have as much time to develop on-ice relationships and communication, which can often lead to breakdowns and mistakes. A constant stream of injuries can take a toll on a team's morale. It can be frustrating for players to see their teammates go down, and it can create a sense of uncertainty about the team's chances. For a rebuilding team like the Blackhawks, injuries to a player like Lewis Craver, who had been playing very well, can hinder the development. They may miss valuable playing time and the opportunity to learn and grow at the NHL level. The Chicago Blackhawks are in a rebuilding phase, which means they're likely to be sellers at the trade deadline. Here are some of the potential trade assets they might have. The players who are most likely to be moved are Ryan Donato, Alec Martinez, TJ Brody, Pat Maroon, and Craig Smith. Ryan Donato is a versatile forward with some offensive upside. He's on an expiring contract, and contending teams often look for depth scoring at the deadline, making him a valuable asset. Alec Martinez is a veteran defenseman with Stanley Cup pedigree. He could be a good addition on a team looking for some stability and leadership on the blue line. His age and potential for decline might limit his value though. TJ Brody is another veteran defenseman who could be on the move. He could be a valuable depth defenseman on a contending team. Pat Maroon has championship pedigree. He brings physicality and a winning mentality, which some teams value. He has little to no offensive value. Craig Smith has some scoring touch and is a veteran forward. He could be a decent option for a team looking for a cheap veteran forward with some offensive punch in their bottom six. Listen to Hockey Wiz Talks podcast on Podbean and Spotify. Check out my travel channel at youtube.com/HockeyWizTravels. Potential trades. Chicago Blackhawks trade Alec Martinez with 50% retained and Pat Maroon to the LA Kings for Jacob Mavero and a conditional third-round pick in 2026. If LA makes the second round of the playoffs or Martinez resigns with the LA, the third-round pick will become a second-round pick. Chicago trades Martinez and Maroon to LA for Mavero, who is a solid bottom pair defenseman and a draft pick. Chicago Blackhawks also trade TJ Brody, Ryan Donato, and Craig Smith to the Vancouver Canucks for Noah Juulsen, Nils Höglander, and a 5th-round pick in 2025. The Blackhawks acquire Nils Höglander, a young forward who was in the doghouse in Vancouver, and Noah Juulsen, a defenseman who was a healthy scratch, for TJ Brody, Ryan Donato, and Craig Smith. Here is the projected lineup after the trades. First line is Connor Bedard centering Nils Höglander and Nick Foligno. The second line is Jason Dickinson centering Teuvo Teravainen and Ilya Mikheyev. Third line is Frank Nazar centering Lagan Slagard and Tyler Bertuzzi. Fourth line is Lucas Reichel centering Colton Dach and Philip Kurashev. First D pair is Alex Vlasic and Seth Jones. Second D pair is Artem Levshunov and Connor Murphy. Third D pair is Jacob Mavero and Noah Juulsen. Goalies are Arvid Soderblom and Peter Mrazek. Fixing the Chicago Blackhawks involves a long-term strategy focused on developing young talent and building a competitive team for the future. There are moves at the deadline that could help them speed up that process though. In my next podcast, I'll be talking about why the Vancouver Canucks have struggled this season.